All right, so today we're going to dive into the really powerful philosophy of a man named Lord Milan Ozoa. He managed to turn a completely life-shattering event into his biggest source of strength, and really his life's purpose. And it all starts with this one idea, this paradox, that might just flip how you think about your own challenges. I mean, just think about that for a second. How is that even possible? How can a broken neck, which is one of the most devastating injuries you can imagine, actually lead to more happiness? That single sentence, it's so provocative, and it's really the key to understanding this entire mindset. It makes you ask, what if the worst thing that ever happens to you could actually be the best thing for you? So let's unpack how that could possibly be true. So where does a journey like this even begin? Well, it wasn't some sudden flash of insight. It started with a profound personal tragedy, an event that forced a brand new way of looking at the world, but only after going through an incredibly difficult emotional storm. Yeah, this transformation was not easy, and it definitely wasn't immediate. Ozoi had to face this absolute storm of emotions. Sorrow, anger, frustration, doubt, fear, all of it. But he argues that the key wasn't trying to avoid these feelings. The key was to go through them. Because by facing them head on, he learned how to actually overcome them. And this, right here, brings us to the absolute heart of his entire philosophy. The big breakthrough wasn't about his physical recovery, it was about a mental one. He had this realization that the real battle wasn't with his body or his circumstances, it was with the story he was telling himself inside his own head. This is such a crucial point. The event itself, the thing that happens to you, is neutral. It's the meaning we give it, right? The story we tell ourselves about it. That's what gives it all its power. He realized his unhappiness wasn't being caused by his problems, but by the disempowering story he had built up around them. And this breaks it down perfectly. On one side, you have the situation. It's the objective, unchangeable fact, a broken neck. But on the other side, you have the story. And instead of a story about defeat and being broken forever, he chose a story of possibility. He started asking, what if I can beat this? And that one tiny shift in the narrative, well, it changed everything. And you can see the chain reaction that happens right after. First, you change that internal story. And once you do that, it suddenly reveals all these new options, these new paths you couldn't see before. And then, when you start acting on those new options, you literally change the world around you. This really is the foundation of it all. It's not about what anyone else says or thinks about you. It's about the story you choose to believe. For Oizo, changing his story was the reason feeling came back to his body. It's the reason he got to travel the world, and it's how he found his dream career. It all started by just rewriting that internal script. But, a new story is great and all, but it's kind of powerless if you don't do anything with it. This brings us to the next critical step. You have to fight the one true enemy that holds us all back, and that enemy is stagnation. It's all about turning that internal shift into real external momentum. Oizo has this simple, almost funny principle for this. He just calls it duh. And it's exactly what it sounds like. The simple act of doing the things you already know you should be doing. When you eat healthy, you feel better. Duh. When you work out, you have more energy. Duh. It's not really about discipline. It's about building a life that feels authentic and creating a fundamental trust in yourself. He had this incredible aha moment when he looked down at the tires of his wheelchair. They were bald, totally treadless. And that was proof of constant movement. It taught him that stopping, standing still, refusing to move forward, whether that's physically, mentally, or emotionally, that's the only real threat to our progress and our happiness. He uses this amazing metaphor to explain it. Think about it. Would you rather drink from a flowing waterfall or a stagnant, murky pond? You just know instinctively that movement is healthier, and the same thing goes for our lives. Expressing your ideas, getting them out, that relieves anxiety. Holding them in creates it. Movement is life. Stagnation is poison. And taking action doesn't mean conditions have to be perfect. He came up with this quote while he was building a $300,000 presentation without having full function in any of his 10 fingers. The point isn't for life to be easy. The whole point is to be willing to do the work anyway, no matter what challenges are in front of you. So, okay, you've changed your story. You're taking action. The final stage of this whole transformation is about looking outward. It's about taking what feels like senseless pain and actually turning it into a purpose that can help other people. Now, this is a really profound shift. So often, our struggles just feel random and cruel. But when you can find a way to make that pain useful, to use your experience to help guide someone else, it's not senseless anymore. It becomes a source of meaning, and that, in turn, becomes a real tool for your own happiness. He had this light bulb moment in Las Vegas, of all places. He realized the wisdom he'd gained from his struggle wasn't just for him. The more insight he gained, the more he could help his clients get unstuck and, as he puts it, win faster. His pain became their shortcut. And this is the empowering result of all that. You don't have to wait until you're fixed or perfect. Your current self, right now, with all your flaws and failures and successes, that person is valuable. Your story, just as it is precisely what someone else out there needs to hear to help them on their own path. So, how do we actually apply all of this stuff to our daily lives? Well, Ozo frames it with one last really actionable idea: viewing your life as a collection of invitations that you are constantly sending out to the world. The idea is pretty simple, but it's so powerful. Everything you think, everything you say, and everything you do is like sending out an invitation. It's a signal. And that signal dictates what kind of experiences and people come back to you. You are constantly attracting the very things that you're putting out there. So let's look at how this plays out. If you're always complaining about a problem, what are you inviting? More problems, right? But look at the flip side. Expressing your ideas invites clarity into your life. Doing what you said you would do, that invites self-trust. Believing in unlikely possibilities, that invites solutions to show up. The choice of what you invite is always, always yours. So that leaves us with this one last really important question. Take a look at your thoughts, your words, and your actions today. What are you inviting? Because the answer to that question might just be determining the entire shape of your world.